Welcome to Unconscious Evolution, Robyn. It's so awesome to have you here today.
Thank you, Christine. I'm excited to be here.
Listeners, today is a real treat. Robyn is absolutely fabulous, and you're about to learn about her. So, Robyn Engelson is an autoimmune specialist, nutrition educator, lifestyle transformer, speaker, host of the Robyn Engelson podcast, and an author. She transforms lives around the globe by helping people be their best selves and retraining their mindsets. Super powerful stuff. And what she will tell you eventually, she's coming out with a book. So, actually, by the time this drops, the book will be released. So, listeners, go get the book. Robyn's contact info and social media details and access to get her book are all listed in the show notes. Please reach out to her. She loves making new friends and welcoming new clients. Robyn, thank you again for opening your personal life to all of us today. What would you like to share? And has anything new come up for you as you prepared to join us today?
Well, that was a fantastic introduction. So, thank you, Christine. I'm excited to be here and add value to your listeners. I love making new friends. So, you were spot on with that. And really, the something that I'd like to share that has been coming up a lot on my podcast interviews and speaking tours is that, most people have never said, I love you to themselves looking in the mirror, looking yourself in the mirror, looking yourself in the eyes and saying, I love you. Three words that are so powerful. Because quite frankly, Christine, it's if you don't love yourself first, you can't love anybody else. So it's external love instead of internal love. And it just keeps coming up over and over. And especially now during the holidays and everything that's going on in people's lives, transitions, uncertainty. It's so important to love yourself, but truly mean it and look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you, and really mean it, right? And then there's work we get to do to get to that point because most people at first will whisper, well, they'll say it silently in their head. Then they'll whisper it, then they'll actually speak it. And that's the process of the work that you're doing and how you can start saying, I love you, and truly loving yourself because that's the hard work that I love to do.
Yes. Okay. So now here we go. What was your process
Mm-hmm.
in looking in the mirror
Yeah.
and saying, I love you? How long did it take? How hard was
Yeah.
it? What happened for you?
So the process is what I just mentioned as far as in your head, whispering and then speaking it. The duration was a while. I don't know exactly how long, but I'd probably say 6 to 9 months. Um, and it's based on not being able to really realize what's holding me back, right? What's holding you back? What's weighing on your shoulders? It's the stuff that we ignore. It's the noise in the background, right? That we don't really acknowledge. But when you start to lean in and you want to love yourself, all these things are coming up, right?
Yeah.
And then you can choose to do the work and overcome them, or you can choose to continue to ignore them and not do the work and be in the same place again 6 months to a year from now. But the
Yeah.
choice is always yours.
That's right. So how was your personal process? How did that go for you?
Yeah, so that was a lot of internal work, Christine, leaning in, working with my life coach, who was instrumental in changing my life and changing my mindset and showing me that I am a product of my upbringing in childhood, but that doesn't define me, nor is it my fault, right?
Yes.
So I was able to peel back the layers. You think of a visual like an onion, just peeling them back one by one. Some days I would cry. Some days I would laugh. Some days I would journal. Some days I would do my I ams in the mirror. And some days I just didn't do anything. And I gave myself grace in order to get to where I wanted to be
Yeah.
because it doesn't happen overnight, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And I want people who are listening to understand that when you see me now, this is not who I was 15 years ago. One of my mentors says, and it's quoted in my book, if you met Robyn 15 years ago. She met me 8 years ago. Let her reintroduce herself. Completely different person. Because through the work, I was able to change my mindset as a model of positive change. And my life coach gave me hope that I could change, that life could look different, right? If I chose to do the work, which I
Yeah. So I would love for you to introduce the Robin from 15 years ago. Who was she?
wow.
Yeah, because
I,
this is how we get our hands wet and our feet wet
yeah.
on my show is, our listeners are either they're struggling in a position right now, they're not sure how they feel about themselves, or they're in process
Mhm.
of transitioning in their life or transforming. And there is so much hope and faith and strength in hearing the tough and tumble journey where somebody started, and you've overcome so much. So I want to know the Robin from 15 years ago.
Okay. I got to really dig back here because, I always remember where I came from because I'm grateful for that. And I just want listeners to understand where you are right now. Live and be in a state of gratitude because you get to change, right? So never forget where you came from because it makes you who you will be and who you will become,
Yeah.
right? So there's a little glimmer of hope for you in your life today. So the Robyn 15 years ago, she was, how am I going to say this? She was um, not confident, not sure of herself, didn't know how to use her voice or that she even had a voice. She was non confrontational in the fact that if someone overspoke her, she would just take it. Um, she was happy on the outside, but literally miserable on the inside. She would cry herself to sleep, wishing and hoping that life would change miraculously when she woke up. Someone can dream, right? Um, and that didn't happen, in case anyone's listening was wondering. And we just kept praying every day that someone would come into her life that would help because she was silently suffering and didn't know who to go to, who to talk to, what was happening really, because there had been so many traumatic events in her life that is just was never ending.
Yeah. Were there any of those events that you felt so I mean, of course, there are so many in life, and, for us to really think back on some of those,
Mm-hmm,
a lot of them tend to be connected to a very similar root
mm-hmm,
because somehow, behavior is repeated. We don't mean for it, none of it is conscious. None of it is, "Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make the same mistake I did before." Or, and you know what? It's not even a mistake because we don't realize we are conditioned to behave a certain way or to react a certain way. But did you notice for yourself there was a pattern for some of these events that were happening that happened to you? Um, or were they all very sporadic and completely different?
So are you asking me now or are you asking me 15
The
years ago?
15 years ago.
Okay, so I had no idea because I didn't have awareness of what
Yep.
was happening and why it was happening, right? So the answer would be sporadic because I didn't understand what I understand and know now on mindset and patterns and awareness and whatnot, right?
Yep.
So it was just one thing after another. And I did, though, notice certain things, like habits, I guess, that were uh, habitual that I didn't like, but I didn't know what to do about them. I didn't know how to
Mhm.
change them, right? Because we don't know what we don't know.
Of course. So for me, I had a lot of those same feelings that you did. I didn't think I had a voice. I didn't think I mattered. And I'm not putting words in your mouth. I mean, at this point now I'm saying how it was for me. I felt
Hmm.
unworthy. I felt that whatever I said didn't matter. I mean, all those really just tough things that kept my confidence at about a level 2 out of
Mm,
10.
yeah.
And I knew I didn't feel good, right? I knew I felt bad about myself. Um, but because of that, I was making decisions in my life that led to relationships that overpowered me
Mhm,
because I didn't allow my voice to come up. I didn't think my voice mattered, even though that whole time I knew it didn't feel good. I was like, something is off balance. It doesn't feel good to have other people overpower me. But yet I continued in certain relationships to that effect due to upbringing, treatment, so many different things that I went through growing up. And I never realized, just like you said, that the 15 years ago, Robin didn't know. You didn't have enough awareness. And I didn't know either. All I knew is I felt awful.
right.
I felt so sad and
Yeah.
depressed, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Um, and it was those behaviors that I was making that felt comfortable, even though they weren't, that led to a life of unhappiness until that awareness came.
mhm,
And it was that looking in the mirror
mhm,
and saying, really what it came down to for me, and I'll be curious what it came down to for you. But I was so unhappy and so miserable that I just looked in the mirror one day because I thought, I'm kind of blaming all these other people in my life for how I feel now. But
mhm.
I'm in my 40s at this point, and I'm thinking, is this how it goes? Like, is this how life is supposed to be? Because it kind of sucks.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't sign up for this, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I asked myself, are you living according to the values that you say you believe in? And and I had to ask myself that question and know that my answer, there was no blame, right? Like I wasn't going to punish myself for any response that I was going to come up with, and it was no. I mean, I was a walking contradiction. Like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," because I felt it on the inside, but I wasn't doing it. And that was my wake-up call, that I no longer wanted to be a walking contradiction, and what did I have to do to get out of that? What what do you think led you to looking in the mirror and asking yourself, or whatever your kind of wake up was?
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So I was trying to get pregnant with my second child and I couldn't. And so I went to an infertility specialist. I got so many tests, like literally the amount of blood they drew was insane. And I walked out with a diagnosis of Hashimoto's, which is a disease, like antibodies, which is part of your thyroid levels, were out of whack. They were off the charts high, which affects your hormone levels and getting pregnant, as well as other health complications as well. Although not life threatening, is life changing. And so here I am again, getting another strike. Like, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. And then going through, so what happened with that is there was a 2.5 year journey of figuring out how to help myself and heal myself from my autoimmune disease to overcome it, right? Because I got sicker and sicker and sicker after I was diagnosed. So I ended up being allergic to the medication that traditional doctors prescribe. And based on my blood work, I looked fine because my antibodies were going down. But I felt awful. I had no idea how I felt. I was having heart palpitations. I was having anxiety attacks. My hair was falling out. I couldn't get out of bed. Body was aching, sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night. I couldn't take care of my toddler, who was 3.5 at the time. I mean, I had to quit my 6 figure plus income job. My life sucked, literally. And I had hit rock bottom. And something had to change. I couldn't live like this. And so that was my awakening moment, of knowing that if it's up to me, it's meant to be. And what happened is I figured out how to help myself with nutrition, with fitness, with mindset, with accountability, right? And I found functional medicine. I found medication I wasn't allergic to. I figured out supplementation. I just really got my life together. And through that process, I was able to find my mentor and life coach, uh, through some of my other accountability partners, and started the process of the awareness. And it wasn't my autoimmune disease that was causing me the pain. that was the trigger that allowed me to see the pain
Mm.
was the key.
I mean, and that's so important to point out
Mhm.
because I think it's a bit of a myth that our emotional health doesn't contribute to our physical health.
Mhm.
And it does way more than anybody even realizes. I mean,
Yep.
unfortunately, you don't hear about it as much because we're prescribed a medication
Mhm.
to take, and okay, everything will be better. So that is not connected to our emotional health, our mental health.
Not at all.
But so much in the way that we handle stress, that we cope with stress, that we avoid stress, that begins to break our body down and causes a long list of illnesses. So I thank you for pointing that. That's so important.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that's a lot of what you do with the work that you do with your clients.
yeah.
So in that, what what did you find to be the most challenging emotional health barrier that you needed to break through?
I needed to break through childhood patterns that I thought were normal.
Can you share some of them with us?
Let me think of one that would be a good example that people would understand. So, I guess as I mentioned before, also too, as far as like using your voice, right, and being confident, right.
Mhm.
So we talked about the 15-year ago route to my past self, right. So I figured out how to, or I overcame, I should say, excuse me, being in a room or being at the table in business with people, just with family members, whomever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, that I learned not to be triggered and shy away from using my voice when someone spoke loudly, when someone was pointing their finger at me, when someone thought they were right all the time. I learned how to reprogram my mind so I could voice my opinion, use my voice, speak up, right? And I learned ways like, they can say whatever they want. And I would say, if you say so, there's no confrontation there, right? And then I would say what I want to say instead of shying away and kind of shrinking in my seat or, and not feeling confident and not thinking that my voice could be heard, right? Non confrontational and being able to speak my voice and share my opinion because
Yeah.
my voice matters.
It's really interesting because you made so many big changes such a long time ago that it's probably difficult. And I can even sense that in you. I can see it like in your
Yeah.
eyes as you're like, wow, 15 years ago, how do I
Mhm.
even? And so, I mean, it's proof that the work works, right?
Yes.
That we never forget how we felt. We never forget. I mean, those things still come up, and then sometimes we still like. I'm sure you still have to be like, wait a minute, Robin, you've got those old thoughts coming in. Like redirect, redirect. But has there been any part of that change that you're always evolving with? I mean, that's the truth. I mean, we're always working on ourselves. But have you noticed that there's been any part of you that has been difficult to keep in the rhythm of staying positive with the new Robin versus, I mean, I hate to say new Robin because it's always been
Right.
you,
That is very
like,
true. That is a good point, right?
yeah, it's always been you. You just needed to get rid of basically the lies, the untruths that you were living
Yes,
according to.
that's
But
right.
can you share with us some of the things that have maybe been just like that much more difficult to curb?
Yeah, I can. And it's interesting you asked that because having an autoimmune disease, even though I'm an overcomer, right? I still have Hashimoto's. That will never go away. I will still take medicine. I will still fuel my body with the proper nutrition and exercise, fuel and do the proper exercise, like all of that. But there are days, and I call them Hashi days. I just wake up and I feel like crap. And it's a reminder of where I came from. But they're far and few between, Christine. They're not every day, right? Sometimes they're once a month, sometimes they're once 6 months. You can't predict it. Your body's just, you just wake up and that happens. And what I've realized is that it's when I'm pushing myself too much. too hard. I'm doing too much. I'm not doing my self care. I'm not eating the right foods. I'm not exercising right. Something, not all of that together, but there's something. So then the awareness comes back in, and I know that I just got to make it through the day, and then I'll be fine. Because the next day I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I know that, right? Because I know what to do, right? So
Yeah.
that would be the one thing that is more of just it's just annoying, right? Because it's not predictable. So it can happen
Yeah.
anytime, anywhere, any place, right? Sometimes it does happen when I'm traveling or I'm doing something that's stressful that my body's like, wait a second, don't do that. It's not going to work out for you, right? But I'm like, I can handle this. I can do this. Then I pay for it, right? So that would really
Yeah.
be the only thing. And yeah, the triggers still come up, but I know what to do. I know what to say. I know how to overcome them. So they're not triggers anymore, right? And just the other day, it happened. One of the triggers, and I was like, I just like literally like I didn't even hear it, Christine. Like I just ignore it. Like I don't hear the noise anymore. Yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty cool, life changing.
That is very
Yeah.
cool. And you bring up such a great point when you said that it tends to happen when you've run
Mhm.
yourself down. You've committed to too much, right? You've gone too far. That essentially is your emotional health,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That, I mean, if you think about it, that's when, you fall down and skin your knee
Mhm.
because you're tired, you've pushed yourself too far. And at that point, it's burnout essentially.
Mhm.
And it reaches your emotional health, which is when a lot of people get
Yeah.
sick or,
Yeah.
whatever happens. And that's such a great point because that oh god, this is just like kind of resonating in my body right now that brings your entire being back to how you used to
Mhm.
feel.
Yes.
That because you're unwell, right? You're unwell. And so to live in a state of unwell for the amount of time that you did, a couple decades, however long, like for me it was over 4 decades of essentially living
Mhm.
unwell.
Yep.
We know those limits. Like, those limits, and I love that you called them out, and it's the same for me, it's getting proper rest at night. I mean, and I need a lot of sleep. I'm one of those people. I need like 9 to 10 hours of sleep
Mhm.
at night because otherwise I starts to question my emotional
Mhm.
health and then brings me back to where I used to feel. And so that is such an interesting point that I don't think I really thought about before. I just thought essentially that it came on just because random, right? It's like,
Interesting. Yeah, no, there's definitely a
right?
reason.
Yeah, there's a reason. Or I would think somebody said something that now it's like, okay, you said that it's making me feel this way. It's bringing
Right.
back the old feelings. But it's more than that. And that's where it's so important that when we take care of ourselves, for you in particular, like with your Hashis, that you're taking such good care of your emotional health because otherwise it feeds into your physical health. And we just don't associate the two of those enough together. Like, I mean, how can you stress how incredibly important
It's
that is to
the one of the most, if not the most important thing. And one of the things that I started doing as part of the work when I was going through my transformation was uh rest. I call it R cubed: rest, relax, rejuvenate. Right. So
Mm.
every Sunday, one day a week. And then I added in some part of my morning routine, like 5 to 10 minutes. And so what that means is sitting outside, reading a book, walking my dog, listening to the fountain go on my hot tub that's touched the pool, right? It's like the noise, it just is calming, right? Grounding myself, walking in sand, walking on stone, walking on pavement, little things that can really make a huge difference in bringing your stress levels down. Because what happens is that I have my cortisol levels, which is your stress in your body, is naturally high, right? It's hereditary. It's in my family, but I never felt stressed. But I didn't realize it
Mm.
was the external emotional that was causing the stress because I wasn't
Mm.
stressed at work. I wasn't stressed. I mean, I was in sales and marketing. It's a stressful job, if you will, right? But I didn't know any different, right? So it's probably a combination. But the fact that I figured out how to relieve myself of that, how to bring those levels down, and just to really find the zen in myself and with the day. And I still do that every Sunday, no matter what, no matter where I am. I don't answer emails. I don't look on social media, which is a huge thing. People are
Yep.
listening. I highly recommend this. Just take a day off. Everything's going to be there. Nothing's going away. They won't miss you, I promise. Right? Right? I only answer phone calls from people that I know. Like just little things that you can do throughout the day. I love to bake, so I typically bake like for 3 or 4 hours, and it's just so
Yeah.
much joy because I'm bringing joy to my life, right? And those around me is my family, and I'll bring something over to my friends or my neighbors, just surprise them because that's what I like to do, right? And I also, every morning during the week, I also, for about 5 or so minutes, I do breath work. And it's not long. You heard me say 5 minutes. I do breath work,
Yeah.
right? And I ground myself. And so those are, they're just so important. I also share the listeners that are, you really important. Self care is not selfish, it is necessary for you to thrive in life.
Y Yes, absolutely. And when you talk about it's knowing what you
Mhm.
need, right? And I remember thinking before I went through my transformation that I needed to be more present. I'm like, I'm not
Mm.
present because instead I'm thinking about, well, I need to
Right.
go empty the dishwasher and then my
Right.
clothes are in the wash. I need to put them in the
No.
dryer. The dogs need to get fed. Oh, wait, now I need to go move
Mhm.
this out of this room and do
Yeah.
this here. And I forgot to call or text this person back. It's like I had nine
Yeah.
things, 9, 10, 20
Yeah.
things going on in my brain.
Uh-huh. It's exhausting.
And like, yes, it is exhausting. And that was causing me a stress
Yeah.
that I never thought about. It was like I lived with it, and
Mhm.
so I couldn't meditate. I couldn't go to yoga and really relax. I couldn't do anything because there was something inside of
Mhm.
me that needed to be healed
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, it was as simple for me, and I wanna hear what yours is. For me, it was as simple as being aware that I wanted to make change. I mean, it was like, "You're a walking
Yep.
contradiction. You're not who you say you are.
Mhm.
You're living essentially a lie.
Mhm.
And okay, now we know that. What can we do?"
Right.
And like what were some of the things that you said to yourself?
So very similarly, I knew I wanted to change. But here's the thing: I want to comment on something you just said about meditating. So my functional doctor used to tell me, "You need to meditate. You just need to meditate." I was like, "I'm not meditating. Like you want me to meditate? I do not stop. Like I can't sit still." I was known when I used to work in an office. Like I would like run. Like I would always walk. I would never take the stairs. I was the fastest walker across the office. I would like my boss would be like, "Woo, there she goes." You know, my grandpa was the same way. He was a doctor, and he used to do that in the hospitals. And but that's just who I am because I wasn't ready to change, and that's the key, right? When I realized I was ready to change, I just started listening on podcasts, just like simple 5 minute meditations. The Calm app is a good one. Anything on, I'm sure now you can find on YouTube, but just anything that just really just calms. Like I love the ocean. I love the ocean, right? It makes me happy. So I listen to ocean waves and I would just sit there on my patio with my dog, the sun shining, and I would just listen. First it was a minute, then it was 2 minutes, and I got all the way up to 5 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is working. I just felt better. It's interesting too. Like you just feel better when you choose to do the work versus someone telling you have to do the work.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, it's got to come from your own desire. You have to have your own inner passion to
Yeah.
want to make it because, something that I've realized is that we won't let anybody else make us accountable for anything unless we fully and honesty make ourselves
Mhm.
accountable for
Right.
something. So instead, we're going to push off everything. Like for 40 years, I blamed everybody else. I was like, well, I'm not accountable for that. And I wasn't accountable for it, but really they weren't either, right? Like everybody, I am a believer that everybody does the best they can. Our parents raise
It is
us to the best of their
on what
ability
was.
based on yeah,
Mhm.
like what they've gone through in life, their stresses, how they were raised, generational
Mhm.
teachings, I mean the whole thing. But I was like, I have to take accountability for myself and my own life because I'm the only one that can make
Right.
that change. I'm the only one that's going, yeah, to take that next step for
That's right.
tomorrow.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Because you have to choose, you have to want to do it. It's just like when I work with my clients. If you want to lose weight, I can guide you, I can help you, I can educate you. You got to do the work.
Yep. Oh, so big time.
Yes. Yes. So true. So good.
So tell us about your
I'm
book.
so glad you asked. Yeah, so my book, and I have editor's copy right here. It's a proof copy. Yeah, that's why
Yay.
there's a line across it. It won't be when you buy it. Exhausted to Energize 90 Days to Your Best Self. And it really walks you through my journey, and it goes through an exhausted state, hope, the work, and thriving state. And I really just give you tools. There's heart work sections that allow you to do the work to overcome what you're going through, right? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And it really is such a game changer. So, what I do is I compress time in that book for you. This is my 2.5 year journey, and you can do it in 90 days or less. That's mind blowing. And
Wow.
your life will change. It will change.
Wow.
There's no way
I
it
mean,
won't. And it's such a game changer. I go in on my life and my story and what worked for me, what didn't work for me. So you can be educated, so you can be knowledgeable, so you know what you're going through. And it's not just for autoimmunity, right? It's for chronic illness, pain, trauma, burnout, any or all of the above, exhaustion in general, moms, right? People moms, dog moms, anybody, whatever, just if you're exhausted with work or you're not getting the right promotion and you're just like can't show up every day. Exhaustion is has so many categories underneath it, Christine, so many,
yeah.
right? And then you'll be able to learn tools to thrive in life, and it will change your life because I help you change your mindset as a model of positive change.
And you know what? If there's anybody out there, and I actually used to be one of them. I'm like, I don't need to learn anything. I'm fine. That's nothing else in my life is going to
Right.
change. And I mean, oh God, I cringe when I think about that person. And just to tell, share with you listeners, everybody can change. Like you can
Everybody.
change. Yes, like you don't have to. I mean, you have a 90-day opportunity here to lead your life in a different direction. Like you don't have to be unhappy anymore. And it's a process, but 90 days is such a great way to begin that and get yourself on a direction that's going to lead you the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And 90 days is attainable. So it takes 30 days to change a habit and 90 days to change your life.
Yep.
So it's attainable, right? And there's work in there that you get to do that allows you to win every single day. And that's the key. You
Mm,
have to be winning every single day in order to move the needle forward 1% every single day.
yes, yes. Well, what would you like to leave our listeners with, my listeners with today, that you think has been the biggest impact on your life? Like share
I got
something
it.
that
I
it's
got
like
it.
mic drop.
I'm ready for this one. Yeah. So
Yes.
the biggest impact that was made on my life was me choosing to invest in my coach because she knew what I was capable of when I had no idea. She had the experience and the knowledge and the expertise to guide me there faster and quicker than I could have ever imagined.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing I can ever leave with anybody, the listeners here, is that's part of self care, Christine. That is part of self care. Investing in yourself is the best thing you will ever do for yourself. And, you can go to a doctor and get band aids, or you can go to a coach and get the solution.
Yep. And I can attest to that because it wasn't until, and I'd gone to therapy before, and therapy has its
Or
place, it has
it's
its
very
time,
different.
very
Yes.
effective, but I needed
Mhm.
accountability. I needed movement. And that's exactly what got me going in that way too. So you guys, it's true. I mean, I'm a coach, Robyn's a coach. And would we love to work with you if you're the right fit? Yes. But you know what? It's really just about spreading this positivity to you so that you can change your life with whoever you work with.
Absolutely.
Just,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I
because
want to say one last thing too. There's coaches that are for you now, and there's coaches that were for you before, and there's coaches for you that will be for you in the future. You will and can outgrow your coach. So I just want to be clear on that. And every coach is not for every person, and vice versa. And just
yeah,
understand the whole coaching and model, I guess, and what it does for you. So, listeners, if you've never worked with a coach, interview a lot of them because you need to resonate with the one that's going to help you.
Yeah, for sure. What preach. I mean, same.
Yes,
I
I know.
I I couldn't
Me
agree with
too.
you more.
We're in alignment.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Robin, there are so many things that you've said and how you've grown up and the things the ways that you've changed your life that I feel like I'm looking in the mirror when you speak.
So
So
great. I love that. Thank you. That's such a compliment. So thank you.
yeah, that's awesome. So, Robin, thank you again so much for sharing really impactful stories today and telling us about your book and what you've overcome with your health and your
Mhm.
mindset and your overall life. I mean, it's just this is real stuff, you guys. This is real stuff. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, you'll find all of Robin's contact information in the show notes and please reach out to her if you don't want her as a coach, just say hi, follow her book, follow her on Instagram, follow her on LinkedIn. She's just a really great person to be connected to.
Thank you.
So, Robin, thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Christine. And I just wanted to tell the listeners, if no one's told you today, I'm proud of you and I love you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll take that. It's been a weird week, time change, election week, so
Yep,
thank you. I'm absorbing it.
absolutely.
Thank you. All right, listeners, until next time, enjoy yourself, enjoy the moment, and try to discover what your unconscious evolution is.